So how bad is Britain's people smuggling problem?
I mean, I would class it as nearly existential. We have recently, very recently, allegations of Iran influencing smuggling gangs. I've seen Albanian gangs who are using it for the drug trade. We're being affected in all sorts of different ways: drugs, firearms, terrorists, economic migrants. I would say this is potentially, or actually, the biggest threat that we have as a country, regardless what people say about maybe climate change, cost of living. I'll definitely put smuggling as the highest.
And you've done this investigation and you've followed the people smugglers, not just the kingpins, but the people themselves who are being smuggled across or paying to come across from the Middle East to Britain. Take me on that journey.
So there's a man called Abu Hussein al-Iraqi. Al-Iraqi is the Arabic for the Iraqi. Abu Hussein is a very generic name. It's essentially like saying John Smith the Englishman. This is a person that doesn't exist. This person has concocted a huge international smuggling organisation stretching from Iraq all the way to Britain itself, and with actually actions that influence inside Britain, I would say. He has a network spanning multiple people of different nationalities. It's not just Iraqis. I've seen Albanians, Syrians involved. They are trying to market themselves as the biggest and the best. We predict that this gang in particular is responsible for at least 1/5 of the small boat crossings affecting Calais and the UK.
So would that make it the biggest gang?
Well, that's what
Probably.
we was estimate. It's hard to really get a clear number on these. The BBC did one on the big Kurdish gang. They've got quite a contention of being a really large gang as well. But this one potentially could be the largest by the number of people they export, not necessarily the members.
Just quickly on numbers. Under Starmer's reign, it was 70 to 80,000, I believe, channel crossing migrants. And I've understood there's 200,000 channel crossing illegal migrants over what time? Do you have a sense of that? Is it sort of?
I would sort of put this, when this really started, as 2018, but it really kicks off sort of 2020, 2021, the COVID periods, when we really saw a massive increase in these small boats coming over. And traditionally, the lorries that they used to come in, that's somewhat been phased out. It has definitely morphed and transitioned into the small boats.
Oh, was the lorry thing before 2018?
Yes.
That was a big thing. Do we have a sense of numbers of the lorry crossings?
That it's really hard to determine, because a lot of them back then didn't necessarily claim asylum. They came in the country and they just worked illegally. Yes. Right. Okay. So we're facing a much different problem now, because we have a legal aspect to it. We never had asylum hotels or people being put up and getting mobile phones and stuff. That never existed. Traditionally, people came and they vanished into the sort of black market economy. They might work in nail bars or Turkish barbers, things like that. We've seen a complete transition to a new form of sort of economic model where migrants don't even have to work. They get paid in these hotels and asylum. They get Aspen cards that they're allowed to spend and purchase toiletries, food, unlimited food at these hotels. I mean, bit unrelated, but I covered an American asylum seeker that came from Las Vegas, got on a flight to Gatwick Airport, claimed asylum on entry. He was given a UK phone along with his American phone. He was given free accommodation, multiple hotels. He was put around the place. He was given free clothes. He was given money. He was given benefits. If you think about that, for all these people from African and Asian and poorer countries, they're obviously going to take that advantage now.
Yeah, and they're not actually detained for processing. No. They're allowed to roam. They're just given somewhere, whether it's a barracks or a hotel.
Yes,
they're actually allowed out.
Yes.
It's actually we're zooming out now a lot, and we'll zoom back in. But this is an important part, because there's illegal crossings and illegal entrance, boats or lorries, and there's also legal entrance, illegal staying. Right.
Yes.
And it seems that the bulk is that if there is at least Pew Research in 2017, I think, said there was 1.2 million illegal immigrants in Britain. It might be 1 million, but I think it might have been 1.2. So I assume there's a lot more now.
Yes.
And most of them are coming in legally and having, presumably, and I'm presuming, so you can correct me if I'm wrong here, their passports stamped in legally and they're just overstaying their visa.
Yes, particularly one of them is Pakistan in particular. They really come on student visas. They come here, then they overstay. I think of the student visas from Pakistanis, they are the ones who claim asylum in the country, not the ones who disappear. 70% of them get rejected their asylum claims, yet of that 70%, only 4% of those are deported back to Pakistan. So there's really a deportation issue here as well. People that should be deported are not being deported.
Yeah. 4% is the figure I've heard as well for just general deportations across the board, and it's not more than that. So back to the people smugglers themselves. I want to understand this journey. You got the Iraqi, and let's say that he's responsible for 1/5 of the Channel boat crossings. How are people who want to get to Britain finding him? How are his clients, so to speak, finding him so that they can get across?
So social media plays an enormous part in this, particularly TikTok. His videos are distributed with sort of Arabic captions about smuggling to Britain. So they're not really particularly seen in this country because it's aimed at an Arabic audience, but he has people who distribute his videos back in Iraq, etc. There's people who will share his videos on Facebook, things like that. We didn't mention this, but I know he has a 14-year-old who manages some of his social media in Iraq. He will post things to Facebook, share it around, get people to share it. They will also...
As in, it's a family business?
No. A random person making money. It's not related to him whatsoever.
You just know that this kid is a kid working for him. Presumably there's a lot of people working for him. This must be a big operation.
And part of it is their testimonies as well. So migrants who come here, they film themselves in these hotels, etc., saying, look at all this stuff we've got. That is sent back to Abu. He then distributes that to his people who share that in Iraq, who look and see, oh, look, there's a free hotel here. If we just pay Abu Hussein al-Iraqi, we can get there and we can have a much better life. We don't even need to work.
So people in the Arab world, seeing as it's Arab language, are seeing this. And then how would they, is there a link, sort of link in description if you want to, get across to, is it like
not just him, also his followers, the people who work for him. They have networks on WhatsApp and Telegram. They'll get in touch with you. They give their phone numbers out. Contact us. We'll give you more information. It really depends on the country you are coming from. You could already be in Italy from another smuggler who's got you across from Libya and you want to come to the UK. He can help you with that. You could be in Iraq. You want to get to the UK, but you can't get through to Turkey. He can sort people out who can get you visas to get into Turkey fraudulently, then start the Channel crossing through Greece, through the Balkans, up to France and to the UK.
Would they be legitimate Turkish visas?
No, well, they could be legitimately issued, but on false information, so fake bank statements, fake references, fake addresses. There was a man named Al-Hashimi, a part of this organisation. He offers that he could share with people a bank account that shows $50,000 in it, which helps to get Schengen visas because the amount is so high. Typically, people don't have $50,000 in their bank account. But for Turkey, the threshold is much lower. It can be done much cheaper. And there's a man named Dr. Watan. He is a real specialist in this. He is known throughout the smuggling community, not just by this gang, but by other gangs, Kurdish gangs, Iranian gangs, etc. The reason they all use him is because he's so successful at getting Turkish visas. So he probably has some sort of contacts in Turkey who distributes these, which is really quite unusual because these gangs are rivals with each other. They don't work with each other. But that man in particular, he's sort of a bedrock of all of them combined, that he can get their clients into Turkey, then onto Greece, etc., etc.
And the key thing being that this is one of the easiest entry routes because you can island hop in Greece.
Yes.
Is that why? Because
Well,
there's other entry routes, right?
There is. There's the land border as well. That's a lot more dangerous. It includes going through fences and stuff. That one really cuts down in the winter because Bulgaria have like thermal cameras which detects people in the forests and stuff. So really that's why you get such a big drop off in the winters as well as the boat conditions. People sort of stop getting into Europe around that time.
Yeah. So on the money thing, if you are someone who wants to be smuggled in, not just to Europe, but all the way across to Britain, how do they pay? Is it an advance? Do they have to pay everything in advance? And do they pay a certain amount in advance? Or are they committed to sort of working for it? How are they paying, and how is that money transferred? Is it cash? Is it crypto? What's going on there in the exchange?
So I would say it's really individualistic. Depends what country you're currently in, where your position is, the price you're going to pay. If you're in Egypt, for example, there was a contacts there in an office. You can go and pay cash. Your route is secured. There's a office in Paris as well. They're sort of dotted about all around the place. I haven't really seen crypto used that much, to be honest. It's more cash, but there's ways that you can decrease the price of your smuggling to Britain. So, for example, you could swallow a load of drugs, and then when you get into Britain, obviously you distribute them back out of your body. And the people who are actually coming into Britain, they're not X-rayed. That's why it's a drug route as well. X-raying is how you detect drugs in people's bodies. So that can cut down your price a bit. You could film social media videos for Abu saying, look, I'm on the boat, he got me here. That could decrease the amount of money you pay. So really, there's a bit of a negotiation involved. The price changes per person. It's typically about 1,200 euros, the part where it goes from France itself to England. But depending on which country you're coming from, the price could be totally different.
The Winston Marshall Show will be doing its first ever live taping, and I want to see you there on September 11th at the Emmanuel Centre in London. We are coming, and boy, do we have a show for you. Journalist and author Majid Nawaz will be sitting down with the historian Raymond Ibrahim to debate the question, is Islam compatible with the West? Perhaps one of the most important and difficult questions of our times. It is without question a clash of the titans. The Winston Marshall Show, live in London, September 11th at the Emmanuel Centre. The link for the tickets is in the description. For more information, go to winstonmarshall.co.uk. Otherwise, I'll see you on September 11th. How much drugs, or what's the value of the drugs that any individual could bring across, do you think, across the channel?
It's really hard to determine without having that core evidence. I mean, these are all sort of being distributed from migrant hotels, and as you see, there's usually Serco cards, things like that. People don't know the full extent.
Do we know what type of drugs?
So it's a mixed bag. It could be bits of cannabis, it could be meth and things like that in packages. It's a mixed bag. It depends on what they have at the time.
Cannabis seems like it would be. Do you think cannabis is being smuggled in? Isn't it
sometimes
pretty easily accessible already?
Well, the thing is, it depends as well.
It's grown here, isn't it?
Yes, and that is a good point. Sometimes it depends on what gang you're using. So people don't know this, but there's actually a shadow fleet of boats coming across the channel. Everyone knows about the rubber dinghies and stuff. But
and the mega dinghies, yeah.
Yes, but people don't particularly know about the small yachts and the sailing boats. These are particularly run by Albanian gangs who are much influenced by the drug trade in North London. And while all the attention is on the east side of our country, Dover, Ramsgate, etc., a lot of these sailing boats are bringing small quantities of people on the west side of the country. Exeter, Plymouth, Cornwall, Devon.
You're kidding.
No, and it's not really reported much, but the National Crime Agency has put alerts out. If you see suspicious boats coming inland at 12 o'clock at night, can you report it? This is linked to Albanian gangs, and what they have is they actually have taxi drivers that go to the West Country, and they then bring the people all the way back to London, where they work in places like Edmonton in North London. They work in the weed houses and they cultivate cannabis, which is then sold back on the streets. Obviously affects our knife crime and things of that nature. Granted, it's a small number of people. You might have 5 people on the boat. That might be every week or so. Not compared to the rubber dinghies where you could fit 100 people, but it is a problem as well.
And where are they coming from? Sort of Brittany or northern France?
Northern France mostly, yes. Yes.
Wow.
The location changes, obviously.
Okay. That's astonishing. When they get into Europe, how are they getting from, let's say, a Greek island to northern France?
Depends on your money. So one option is you could purchase a lookalike passport. You have someone else's passport, a European Union one, of course. You fly from Rhodes, Kos, Samos, etc. to France. Then you go straight across.
You fly across?
Yes, that is one option. That is the most expensive option, getting a fake passport. The cheapest option is the Balkan route. You either go from trucks, vans, etc. You go through Greece, through the swamps, through the mountains, through Bulgaria, Serbia, Hungary, Germany, etc. And you do the land route.
Land route, and you would still need some sort of fake
passport? No, because you smuggle between the countries. The smugglers already have predetermined weak points in countries' borders that they know and they've sourced, and you go there without documentation.
Okay. And why do you think once they're in the Schengen zone, once they're in the EU, they want to go to Britain? Because, France, I always say when I'm asked about this, they're not fleeing war-torn parts of the world. They're fleeing France. And there's lots of reason to flee France. But if you're even an economic migrant, you'd be like, actually, France I'll take it. Is there a reason why they would do that extra journey across the Channel?
I would say two reasons in particular. The first is obviously the benefits we give them compared to France. If you claim, just picking France as an example, if you claim asylum in France, you're not given a hotel, you're left to sleep in the streets in a tent. Whereas in Britain, you're given that hotel, you're given that luxury, you're given a lot more than our counterpart in France. Now, historically, Germany was the biggest one for smuggling. That has changed in recent years to Britain, partly because Germany's changed their own rules on who they grant asylum to, how long the process takes. They've got a little bit more tougher on it, whereas we've gone the opposite direction with our pendulum. We've made it easier in some cases. We've given them things that other countries won't give them. So that is the first reason. The second reason is this scheme they've concocted, which nearly guarantees 100% success in actually getting a valid asylum claim in the United Kingdom. Because you could go to these other countries and still fail asylum, right? So when they come to the UK, and this is what Abu Hussein puts out, he tells people to claim they're a Bidoon. A Bidoon is the Arabic word for stateless. They're claiming that they're a stateless tribe from Kuwait in particular. Now, this tribe, there's about 100,000 of them in Kuwait. It's known in Kuwait. This issue dates back to the 1960s. Kuwait doesn't consider these people to be a part of their peoples. They say these are illegal immigrants from Iraq, Syria, etc. who've come to our country. They don't give them full citizenship. So there's two different categories of Bidoons, and this is important. The first is documented. These are people who somewhat have a connection to the lands going back maybe 1,000 years or so. Tribes people who can't read or write, genuinely stateless people. The other category is non-documented Bidoons. These are generally people who are illegal immigrants who've said, yeah, I'm a Bidoon in Kuwait.
So there's the two categories are, you're a Bidoon, we're not a Bidoon.
Yes.
Right.
But so essentially, they have different legal principles. So a documented Bidoon is still a second-class citizen in Kuwait. There's human rights abuses and stuff, two sides to the story. They are recognised as being mistreated. An undocumented Bidoon, in our Home Office policy, a small number of these people are recognised to be genuine Bidoons. The reason for this is, in 1965, Kuwait did a census. It tried to detect every single person with connections to Kuwait. A small number of people, maybe 1,000 or so, in the Kuwaiti desert who don't have access to information, can't read or write, they were missed off that list. So this is how the loophole works. You have to state you're an undocumented Bidoon. You have to state your parents, grandparents, etc. were living in the desert, so they weren't registered on the list. And then you have to answer questions set out by the Home Office to prove you're a Bidoon. Now, there's a 25-page Arabic document on this which lists every single Home Office question on Bidoons and the answers you should give to every single question. Some of them are very basic, like what's the flag of Kuwait? What's the capital? What countries do we border? What's the international dialing code? And if someone didn't know those questions, that would be highly suspicious. How do you not know the basic facts about Kuwait? But on the flip side, if you have all the answers, this is really easy revision. This is something you could learn in a day or two. This is easier than a GCSE exam. So you recite these back to the Home Office. The second part of this is you need to have some element of threat against you from Kuwait. So there's a scripted story. You say, I was protesting for my rights in Kuwait as a Bidoon. The government arrested me. They tortured me in prison. I signed a document which I can't read and write, so I don't know what I signed. It said I was a spy and I had to report on my family. I had to flee the country because I was scared if I don't do X, Y, Z, people could be hurt. So that level of threat, that ticks boxes every sort of category from the Home Office. If we deport this person who knows everything about the Bidoon community, there is genuine threat to their life back in Kuwait that we would be responsible for if anything happens. So the Home Office is extremely lenient on who they issue Bidoon status to.
How many quote-unquote Bidoons have they given status to?
So there's about 20,000 in the country. It used to be in the top 10 of the people coming into the country. There was more Bidoons than Ukrainians. And when you compare that, there's about 33 million Ukrainians in existence. The Bidoon community, there's only 100,000 of them, and about 30,000 are documented. So you cross them off. There's about only 70,000 people we can choose from, yet they're over 136 times overrepresented than Ukrainians in our refugee and asylum statuses.
Oh, proportional to how many of them there are, not in total?
No.
Because we've got a lot more Ukrainians than 20,000.
Yes.
But so we have 20,000 quote-unquote Bidoons.
I mean, we'd nearly have the whole population if this continues going as the way it's gone.
Wow. And presumably this is just one of the...
Of many.
Many different...
Yes. So, for example, Ethiopians pretend to be Eritreans. The reason for that is in Eritrea, they have false conscription. They claim it's against their human rights. Another one, this predates the Iran war, but a known Kurdish one is they'll make an asylum application here, perhaps say they're gay or something like that, which is frowned upon in Iran. Then what they'll do is, while they're in the country, obviously you can edit and change your asylum application while you're here. They'll go out to anti-Iranian protests. They'll take photos of themselves, post this on Facebook. And because of the law in Iran, those people could be severely reprimanded if they return to Iran. So they then put that in their applications to strengthen and enhance their claim to the UK.
And so this is all part of the package that the likes of Abdul the Iraqi, was it Abdul?
Abu Hussein.
Abu Hussein, forgive me. Abu Hussein the Iraqi, his operation includes all of this.
Well, he includes the Bidoons in particular. He doesn't really specialise in Ethiopians and Eritreans and stuff.
But what I mean is he'll have, as well as travel and visas,
he'll have the legal
he then also have the preparation for what you do when you get into Britain.
He's even distributed, and you can see this in the Telegraph, audio recordings of people pretending to be Bidoons in Home Office interviews. They secretly record them on their iPhones or whatever it may be. They then send that back to Abu Hussein, whose people check, are there any new Home Office questions? Is there anything we need to be aware of? And then this is distributed to migrants to show, look, we just faked an Iraqi trying to be a Bidoon here. Here's the whole thing. This is what you do. Look how easy it is.
Yeah. And for those who don't have the cash to get all the way across, is it true that they become indentured servants and are sort of stuck to the food app operations, that they come in and they'll be given a fake profile on Deliveroo, which someone else has reused their face, and then they have to sort of pay off their debt? Is that...
Uber Eats and Deliveroo, that's a big one. There's people who source that. Not particularly related to Abu Hussein. These are people whose contacts is in Britain, whose contact details can be passed on. So they're not particularly human smugglers. They're just experts in frauds, per se, who give their details out and help these migrants in exchange for money themselves.
Right, okay. I had heard that there were other smugglers who it's part of the operation.
Yes, every gang is different.
Don't worry, you don't have to pay it in advance. When you get there, you'll work for us and pay it off.
Exactly. I mean, we saw this with the hotel in Canary Wharf. They moved all the migrants in, and then the next day, loads of them have Uber Eats bags and bicycles and stuff, and they were all back out working. It is known around the country that this happens, of course.
So who's steering the boats across the channel?
It's a hard one to say because there's so many different groups, so many factions, so many nationalities. We've mentioned Iraq here in particular. Afghanistan is a big one. The Kurds are a big one. I would say there's multiple groups. It is like a capitalist business. There are rival gangs with each other. They arm themselves in Calais with firearms because they're rivals with each other. They threaten each other. There is no one single overlords. There's not a monopoly, but there's various types of different smugglers. Like we mentioned, obviously, the shadow fleets with Albanians. That is a different kind of smuggling. There's still the people who attempts to get in lorries. They're not as successful. But the thing about lorries are, if you fail, you just do it again. Because France don't send you back, they just let you out the lorry.
Yes, we'll definitely have to come back to the French. There was a guy who, it was reported by the Home Office themselves, I think last week, of Sudanese nationality, who got sentenced to 16 months in Britain for people smuggling. Now, that's remarkable. Just if you remember, Lucy Connolly got 31 months for a swiftly deleted tweet. He's actually smuggling people across the channel. He's actually putting people's lives in real danger, and he's only getting 16 months. What's your sense of how our response as a nation, or I should say our government's response in dealing with what's going across the channel?
Inadequate completely. I mean, Abu Hussein al-Iraqi, I alerted them multiple times in advance before that story about this individual.
The police? Who did you lead?
The Home Office.
The Home Office.
The Home Office. They done nothing. I appreciate there's a French element to it. We can't just storm into France, boots on the ground, but...
Well, maybe we could. That's I'm not against that.
Well, that'd be a good idea. But they just seem totally incapable of doing anything. I mean, for example, that Bidoon one, when we done that, the Home Office response to that was, instead of addressing and fixing the issue, they decided to recategorise all the Kuwait asylum claims from Bidoons, take them out, reclassify them as either stateless or refugee. So when you look at the Kuwait asylum statistics, it looks like after our article, it shot straight down. But really what happened is they've just redistributed the numbers to other categories. They're more interested in hiding it in some aspects than actually dealing with it.
One of the, we went to the Hungarian border with Serbia.
Okay.
And they have, even though Hungary is within the EU, they have very good relations with the Serbs, and anyone who comes across the border, the Serbs agree to take straight back.
Sure.
A problem we've got with the French, even though we're paying them $500 million every 3 years to stop the boats, and as far as I can say, I'm not really sure there's much of a decrease, maybe mild decrease, but it's pretty much the same thing.
It fluctuates as well.
The problem we have, though, the difference with the Hungarian border and why they, on a practical level, have been much better at dealing with it, as far as I can see, is that it's a land border, not a sea border. And as soon as these people are in British waters, it's our responsibility. And we can't, in the same way, the Americans can put a big, beautiful wall up and actually stop things. We can't actually easily do that. I mean, we could put a floating wall up, which I actually think is
I somewhat disagree. I would look at the Belgian model for this.
Right.
Now, about a month or 2 months ago, there was a big increase in boats coming from Belgium, but that has decreased again. The reason why is they don't just get people on the land and sort of shoo them off. They actually intercept the boats on the water, which the French don't do, and turn them back. So if Belgium can do it, why can't France do it?
The Belgians are intercepting boats coming from the Belgian coast and stopping them coming over to Britain.
Yes.
And why are they doing that? Are we paying the Belgians?
I don't believe so. I mean...
I don't remember that. I think I would know if we were. So they're doing it because just...
Well, it's illegal human smuggling. I mean, it is a choice. You can do these things if you want to do these things.
And what does that say about the French? The Belgians, who are not being paid by us, are stopping it. And the French, who are being paid astronomical amounts, are just letting it continue. Just the people smuggling itself.
Yes. And
astonishing.
If you look at the actual article we're talking about, the one I've done about Abu Hussein al-Iraqi, there's a video in there he's filmed. He's sitting on the beach with about 6 French police officers around him. He's filming the boat going out and saying, I've just sent another boat out, France to Britain. We go every single day. This was about 8 days after we signed an agreement with France to give them £662 million to stop this. And they're all standing there watching him let the boats go out.
We're getting mugged.
Yes.
I actually don't understand also why the deal wouldn't be, we'll pay you if you end it. So it's not in advance. it's like based on results.
Yes.
And they actually had an incentive. I cannot get my head around this deal. It's a deal that can only have been done by, and I'm talking about the British on this side, people who have no sense of reality and no sense of human nature.
I mean, the smugglers themselves, in their telegrams, this isn't the first time we've done a deal with France, give them money. What they've described as usually happening is there'll be some sort of media event with all the journalists there. Maybe the French police will stab a knife in a boat, or they'll pepper spray some migrants. They'll put on a big show of force right after some sort of announcement of money. 2-3 weeks later, it all goes back to the same. Exactly. And that comes from the migrant smugglers themselves.
Is there anything that you think the media misses about the story or what's going on? I mean, without revealing what you're getting up to, is there anything that's going on that we need to wake up to?
I mean, just the potential of terrorists coming over. That's the most basic, simple point of government: defend your people. Again, the Bidoon loophole. There was a man 1 month ago from Germany, a convicted Islamic State terrorist. He's come pretending to be from Kuwait. Obviously, our Bidoon loophole. His name is Mohammed Yassin. You can look him up. Why are we allowing this to happen? I mentioned this in November, yet they're still using this loophole in July and nearly August.
Do you have a sense of what's the proportion of men and women and children?
Well, I have seen a small number of women and children, but I would say it's 99 men versus women and children.
99%?
Yeah.
99%.
Yes, that's what I'm just going from what I've seen. But I have seen women and children. I have seen them stuffed onto these boats in dangerous conditions where there's high waves, etc. So many people packed together. Some of these deaths we've had in the channel, not all of them are from drowning. Some of them are actually from being crushed on these boats. So overcrowding is a big issue.
On the boats itself.
Yes, that is a real issue.
And the women and children, are they going a part of the same people smuggling operations?
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So they're doing this. They're doing the same as everyone else. And of the men, do you think that any proportion of them are legitimate asylum seekers?
Not particularly. I can't say I've documented one, to be honest. I mean, there may be a needle in a haystack one, but why wasn't you claim asylum in France?
What's wrong if you're safe in France.
Exactly.
Yeah. Wow. You've reported on them coming across from Ireland.
Yes.
Is that a whole other story?
Yeah, well, that's more sort of focused on Albanian trafficking again, but that is particularly with fake EU passports. So what they do is they go from Italy, France, wherever, somewhere within the European Union, where it's almost like a domestic flight, what you take. So you just get on a flight with your passport, you land in Ireland. There's no border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. You freely walk over. This can be exploited by illegal immigrants, maybe wanting to get here undetected, which is why the Albanians have such a big proportion of a stake in this, again, with the drug trade. But then this can also be used for asylum seekers. So not long ago, we saw a man from Sudan. He attacked someone in the streets of Belfast, tried to behead them. Yeah. He is an asylum seeker who came from the Republic of Ireland, crossed with one of these passports into Northern Ireland. So it is a real issue. A lot of the focus is on small boats, but this is also an issue that we have to face.
And those coming into Northern Ireland, is there anything really stopping them getting across to the mainland from Northern Ireland? So
no, I mean, because
it's a problem for Northern Ireland, but once they're in, they're just...
At that point, you're in the country. It's no different from going Scotland to England. They just take ferries across. Maybe on some cases, if you want to get a flight from Belfast...
Do you not need... I've done that journey a lot of times. I just can't remember if... it's been a while and I can't remember if you need ID to get across it.
Well, the thing is they have these fake IDs, which is how they get into Ireland to begin with. So you just use that again.
And those fake IDs will be real, but not for that person.
Look-alike, essentially.
Look-alike.
Yes.
Right, I see. And it is the case that there are now some percentage are coming over from Belgium. So despite the efforts of the Belgians, there are some coming, which is a much longer route, right?
Yes.
So that's presumably a lot more dangerous a route. Do you know anything about that? What's going on there?
I mean, again... that one's a little bit on the decrease. They did pump that one up not long after this 662 million deal.
Was it French?
Yeah. So I suppose, they know for a week or so there might be a heavy French presence. We'll just move to Belgium that week and do our smuggling from there.
Oh, I meant yeah. And I mean, if I was Belgian, I'd be like, well, why, when we can get so much cash out of the British, look what they're giving to the French. Let's just maybe try and get a deal here.
I mean, I wouldn't give them that idea personally, but it is something. It is something that's possible. But I think the Belgians take this more seriously. There was a report by one of the Belgian police in one of these towns saying a lot of the people he encountered doing these run-ins were ex-soldiers from Afghanistan, and they were highly dangerous people. So they do take it somewhat more seriously. For France, they want to punish us for Brexit. I get it's in their interest. They don't want people in France. Just let them go.
I think that's the main thing. They don't want these camps. Do we have a sense of how many people are in the camps at the moment?
The camps sort of move around. Historically, if we go back to 2015, there was the Calais jungle. Everyone knows about that one mega camp where they all congregate. Now they're sort of dispersed. They're in forests. They're walking down the sides of the street. They're all over the show. I mean, another method, if you don't have a mobile phone or access to social media, you hang around a park in Calais or Dunkirk. Someone taps you on the shoulder, you make contacts, you cross the channel.
Right, okay. And we were promised that, certainly by Keir Starmer, and I imagine other consecutive prime ministers, that they would smash the gangs. Smash the gangs is now a cliche, actually, in British politics. Has anyone come close to smashing any of the gangs?
Not particularly. If you take someone out, someone replaces them quick enough anyway.
Has anyone been taken out?
There was a Kurdish gang, and there's a few minor people here and there who may have some roles in operating the boats, and they've been caught, but no real major smugglers per se.
So there's the Border Security Command is what it's called.
Yes.
Do they have any sort of scalps that they can, like, I mean, you just mentioned that, but is there anything substantial that they can say? Or let me ask a different way. Is there even any evidence that it's being taken seriously as an operation and they're actually working on it? Like, if you're to steel man the position of the government and their efforts to smash the gangs, they might not be yielding results, but are they actually doing anything that we can say, oh, fair enough, they are actually trying, it's just an impossible problem?
It's tricky. Sometimes, yes, there are documented cases where we have prosecuted people. Sometimes that's come from the media. So, for example, a different gang, they were paying, migrants were going to vape shops around the country as payment, which goes back to the human smugglers.
What do you mean migrants are going to vape shops?
So people who can't pay, say we were talking about Uber Eats, etc., those contacts, some of them were in vape shops. This was a different gang, not Abu Hussein al-Iraqi, but they were making their payments, their debts they owed, to vape shops, which were then being distributed back to France to the human smugglers.
Wow. Gosh, the tentacles are far and wide.
It's absolutely everywhere.
It's massive. Give me a sense of the money. So you've already said how much individuals might be paying, $1 or $2 grand to get across the channel. I've actually heard more in other cases.
Yes.
And several thousand to get across the continent, if you're including crossing the Turkish border, getting even into Turkey, I imagine. These people, the likes of, it's not Abdul the Iraqi, it's
Abu Hussein.
Abu Hussein the Iraqi. We're talking about hundreds of millions here.
Yes.
Right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they offers from Egypt someone to come for $10,000. What sort of deprived person fleeing war has $10,000 in cash? So most definitely there is.
Yeah, they can't charge that if there isn't people with 10 grand to actually pay that.
Exactly.
Right. Because otherwise, right. So what is the money situation, and how much are these people smugglers walking home with, and
several thousand euros every single day. And if you think there's about 120 people on a boat, do the maths. Obviously, they have employees. Sometimes they have costs. The boats themselves, they're not stored in France. Most of them are stored in warehouses in Germany, which obviously complicates the issue because you can't go to the French police and say, can you destroy the boats when all the boats are stored in Germany? But a lot of money is outsourced. Some parts, like engine parts, for example, they have to buy from China without...
For the dinghies?
Yes, because they're operated with engines. They're not rowboats. They're very large as well. Some of them have 3, 4, 5, 6 engines in some cases. and they need that power to get across. The fuel as well is another one. Sometimes they steal fuel from petrol stations. Sometimes that's smuggled in. Morocco is a big smuggling point in regards to fuel. Comes across the Strait of Gibraltar, as well as cocaine. There is a lot going on here with the finances.
What do you mean? They're smuggling fuel through Gibraltar into the continent to get up to...
Yes, and this is sort of things that you see with Russian sanctioned oil that we can't buy, which is obviously much cheaper in countries like India, etc., exported outwards to countries like Morocco, or maybe it's Libyan oil, countries with sanctions. They can get that cheaper from countries we don't agree with. That is smuggled here and given to them in some cases.
So back to the money thing. If this money is a huge amount of money, he's got to be doing something with this cash. I mean, maybe it's not literally cash; it's money in accounts. So somebody's laundering it somehow.
Bank accounts.
It must be It must be traceable. If there was a proper sort of investigation, if we actually had our intelligence properly investigating it, I would hope that we could find it. Or is this a very clever bloke who we're not going to be able...
Some of it's in Iraqi banks, some of it's offshore banks. They're really shady about the finance. That for me personally, that'd be very tricky to uncover where each and every financial detail goes. But it does go offshore. Some of it is spent in France. They might buy nice clothes or have a nice car, etc. It's really distributed all over the show. There's not one money source, not one pot of gold. It is sent in different places. If someone gets taken down, well, they've still got 5, 6 other pots of gold elsewhere.
And you'll remember, of course, that Keir Starmer said that one way he was going to deal with this was with digital ID.
Right, yes.
Can you still make the case why digital ID would somehow help?
I just can't see what digital ID would do. Would that stop a boat crossing? Would that stop someone from Northern Ireland's coming? I mean, think of something we have control over, student visas. They could suspend Pakistan for abusing them, but they don't. So what is a digital ID going to do? People don't get deported when they overstay. So I just don't understand it. What will we achieve by that? Especially if people throw their passports and pretend to be other nationalities. They do what's called nationality shopping, which we explained earlier. Ethiopians pretended to be Eritreans, Iraqis, Kuwaitis. Yeah. What was a digital ID do in that case?
Yeah, quite. And what are your solutions to this problem then? What's the sort of the Mitchell answer? If you were in charge, if you were the Home Secretary, what would you do?
The tentacles are absolutely everywhere. You need a multi-layered level of defence. The first part of that always comes from intelligence and information. You need to inform the people out there, we will not be accepting the boats, we will not be accepting asylum claims, we will not be accepting any of this. I think what you should do is you should be paying these influencers who get paid to promote these routes. You should do the opposite. You should pay them more to not promote these routes. Say, if you go to Britain, they'll turn you back, you'll waste your money.
You think the British should pay?
Yes. I mean, if you think about...
Abu Hussein, the Iraqi.
No, not them. He has people in Iraq who aren't human smugglers, who post things on TikTok, Facebook, etc., who get paid to promote this as influencers, if that makes sense. So we should employ our own influencers to do the opposite and counteract that. But obviously that comes to stage 2. You actually need to turn back the boats. You actually need to stop this, because words on paper don't mean nothing. People will still launch those boats out. So the second part I would say is...
The second part's more important. The first part is, as long as the incentive remains, clearly it's worth it for someone to spend 10 grand. Yes. Or at least they believe it's worth it. But we've got to make it clear. Firstly, we've got to make it that it's not worth it. Yes. They're not getting anywhere near our fucking country.
Yes.
And then second, we've got to then use our TikTok army to make it clear that don't even bother going to the UK.
I mean, that's just a small part of it. Yeah. Information is needed. The second part is doing the job. You need a Royal Navy. And I know we have problems with the Royal Navy. We couldn't get a ship out for Cyprus when Iran was attacking. We had a nuclear submarine, the Trident one, that floated for 400 days. I know there's problems with it, but whatever power of it remains must be used to restore our borders and defend our country.
Yeah, so I'll pick up on that, because I mean we need, of course, to improve our Navy fleet and our sub fleet. just to protect ourselves, and not just the United Kingdom and the British Isles, but Falkland Islands that flared up in the World Cup. Chagos, that's a serious thing.
Yes.
But if, let's say, for the sake of argument, we had a fully functioning fleet.
Yes.
What exactly do you imagine they would do in the Channel? Because maybe you have an answer. Go on.
Well, what you do is you have a sort of a system of escalation and de-escalation. So you would intercept the boats, first of all. When you do that, you need to give out warnings, let off sirens and stuff, turn back, turn back. They refuse to turn back. You then escalate it again. You fire flares up in the sky overhead, a clear visual warning if they can't understand English or whatever language you're speaking on megaphones. That is a warning to turn back. They refuse that again, you escalate it more. You fire warning shots into the air, into the sea. They turn back, they keep going. You have to escalate it more. You take evasive manoeuvres to nudge the ships back to France, Belgium, wherever it may be. If they keep going, essentially, are they endangering our personnel? You have to take decisive action. If that includes shooting the boats, no one wants to see that. But if that includes it, then that's what needs to be done. Only at that point, when you have a serious border policy like Russia or China or the United States, you can then stop this problem. I think after that, you then need to go for the people smugglers themselves. You need to put out probably international warrants for arrests, put them on hit lists. We will arrest you, sanction their bank accounts, freeze their assets. I said this on GB News. I think we should use our cyber warfare capabilities. We have a whole section of the British Army trains in cyber warfare. They're sitting there doing nothing. Why don't we hack their phones, find where these transactions are going, find where the payments, as you were asking earlier, where is that money going? We can track this on their phones. We could listen to their conversations. Why are we not doing that? I don't know. We need UAVs and drones in the sky to detect these boats with thermal cameras. We need a whole range of measures. So it's not one measure in particular that solves the issue. You really need an integrated system between the Royal Navy, between the Army, between the intelligence community, and even between our special forces. We could conduct raids in some of these rogue countries where people are giving these dodgy visas or helping terrorists and people like that who are coming all the way here. We could go out there, we could arrest them. Think Trump. He arrested the leader of Venezuela for narco-terrorism. Well, do we not have border terrorism? We have people from the Islamic State. We have Iran coming out saying that we've smuggled agents into your country. Surely that is a threat to us when they're firing missiles at RAF bases and the Chagos Islands. We should use, in my opinion, maybe others won't share this, terrorist powers, declare them as terrorist cells, because I have seen myself actually an ideological sort of, in some cases it may be Islamist, in some cases it's pro-Iranian, the Ayatollah they have a great affinity with. In some cases they're very anti-Israel, anti-the United States. Those are our
anti-Western.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So I think you're onto something with the special forces here, and we sort of forgotten, even though we still put James Bond movies out every few years, we've forgotten who we were. And this is an act of war, or certainly an act of invasion, is the way you describe it. I would say that is actually the problem with the word invasion is that it implies that it's against our will. But if you looked at the behavior of the government, it's not totally clear to me that it is against our will. It's certainly not the will of the British elite to allow everyone in. But that perhaps brings in the question of legal migration as well. But absolutely, going to find out these cells, we still, despite how degraded our military is, we still have unbelievable special forces. And sending them out, I have no problem eliminating Abu Hussein the Iraqi. Find him. Kill him. That should be absolutely the case. But on your point about the Channel, and this is where things get problematic, I think, is that if you had a situation where the Navy were to sink one of these boats with however many people there's on them now, 50, the mega dinghies, I think it might be 80 or 100 or, a lot more. And then you have a front page and, 150 killed in Channel, then it would set back everything that's going on politically, and it would be, it would cause a political upset.
Yes, absolutely.
That would make things much harder.
You don't want to kill people, just to be clear. I don't want to see people die. You need to treat people with dignity and respect. The boats are a threat. When you shoot the boats, you do pick them up, take them back, deport them, whatever you need to do.
Yeah.
But
which
it's really circumstantial. It depends on the context of what's going on at sea, right? This could be at the shore. This could be between our border and the French border. This could happen anywhere.
Well, so another way of dealing with it is that those people should never set foot on British soil. So either they're picked up. You say nudging. I don't see why we can't, with great British, ingenuity, come up with some sort of contraption that can pick up the boat and either take it back to France, like a big ice cream scoop, take it back. I mean, that might sound ridiculous now, but there's more preposterous ideas that have come up. Or they're brought onto another boat and they're taken off immediately to the Ascension Islands or something like that, somewhere where they're processed nowhere near our country, just so that it's just the message is out that they're not getting anywhere near us. And I think that this is another comparison with the Hungarian model. If you have a border, if it's like a trapped border and they're killed crossing it, it's their fault for trying to cross it. The problem you get as soon as you have the Navy actually shooting people, then it looks like the things are...
I appreciate that. But on the flip side, you talked about Hungary. If you talk about Poland and the Belarus border, there was a Polish border guard who was killed by a migrant when he was defending Poland. So if we're nudging these boats, what happens if one of them smuggled a firearm on the boat and shot at a Navy personnel? You need to be there ready to defend the country no matter what. This is a threat. There are known terrorists coming. There are drug dealers coming. You cannot rule out the use of force. It is like the nuclear deterrent. We don't want to use it, but it's there should it be used. I don't want to see people shot. I don't want to see people killed. I always hope flares, things like that, nudging the boat would be enough to send them back. But it's our country first.
It's very important. This is a very important point. People are being killed in the process of coming across in the smuggling. And the people who are coming across, some of them are killers and they are killing British citizens.
Yes.
So we have a moral duty. Our government has a moral duty to protect British lives. And that means to stop this. And it is an invasion and it needs to be stopped, as far as I can say. So to use force is completely legitimate. But being tactical about how it's used is the real question.
Yeah, it needs to be in a controlled and measured way, not in aggression, not in an outburst. Our armed forces are trained professionally in discipline. They know the procedures better than me. They know how to deal with this. Just as they would deal with perhaps a Somalian pirate boat trying to board a cargo ship. Sometimes force is used, sometimes force isn't used. It would be up to them to determine when it's used, when it's not, what the level of threshold is, and how to go about that. So I would trust that to our armed forces, but the option needs to be there. And you need to take away the lawfare if you want to do this properly. You need to take away people who could prosecute our Navy. You need to leave the ECHR, things like that, which would limit us in being able to stop this issue.
Yeah. We've mentioned the French. We have mentioned in passing the Chinese because they're parts used on the dinghies. And we've also mentioned that an Iranian Islamist recently came over. Are there any other foreign nations that are complicit in what's going on across the border, apart from those three?
It's hard to say complicit because sometimes they could be partially complicit. So, for example, the Taliban issues fake death threats to people that they could buy from Afghanistan to enhance their asylum claim in the United Kingdom. But that doesn't mean the Taliban got them the fake visas or got them through Greece, etc., etc. There are certain elements that can be enhanced by other countries, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are culpable for everything. So it's really a mixed bag. Iran's one to look at. Iraq potentially is one to look at. It's 50-50 on that. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
And sort of a whole other angle about this, but it's a lot more in the numbers, is the legal entrance, illegal staying. As we discussed earlier, there's a lot of people that are coming in that way. Have you done any investigation into that aspect of our border woes?
Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, if you talk about visas, here is a good anecdote for an example of where the Home Office has done good. So before I was really writing with the Telegraph, last year I reported to the Home Office about the country of Nauru. Nauru is a very...
Nauru?
Yes, Nauru is a very tiny... You wouldn't... Well, it's quite close to the Marshall Islands. So
oh, really? Okay.
But very tiny country, 12,000 people. No one's ever heard of it. No one knows where it is. It's in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. They introduced a scheme called a golden passport for climate change. So essentially what that is...
Who did?
Nauru, their government.
Their government.
So what you can do is for $25,000, you can buy Nauru citizenship. That process is done offshore from Nauru in a company based in New Zealand. Now, I laid out to the Home Office, if people could purchase passports from a country and they don't even know who they're giving passports to, what's to stop, say, people on sanctions lists or foreign mercenaries, international drug dealers, etc., using this to get into our country, because they have visa-free access.
The Nauruans?
Yes, visa-free access to the United Kingdom, because you never hear of them, they're not in any crime stats, hardly any of them ever come here. But there is good precedence for this, because they had this scheme 20 years ago, but they had it controlled by the government. And what happens was, in 2002 in Malaysia, an Al-Qaeda cell was raided, and they found that all the members of Al-Qaeda had Nauru passports using this same scheme, more or less. Now it's off ship to New Zealand. That was the same 20 years ago. So there is precedence to that. I didn't get a response. I was a bit aggrieved. But 2 months later, I saw a notice on the government website. We are imposing visa restrictions on Nauru. They more or less quoted my words for words answer because of the security situation. We don't know who they're giving passports to, etc., etc. So that is the Home Office being proactive. No one is going to kick up a fuss about visa restrictions from Nauru, but you put it to the other side. Shabina Mahmood, the Home Secretary, Pakistani heritage. Why is there no visa restrictions on Pakistanis who are abusing student visas, the biggest of that kind? Why has that not been addressed?
The biggest abuse of student visas is coming from Pakistanis?
Yes. Out of any nationality in this country. So if you could do it for Nauru, why can't you do it for Pakistan? Is it potentially because a lot of their base votes for Labour and it's a political issue more than a borders issue for them? Because they announced ones on Congo, restrictions for visas, places like that, Afghanistan, Burma, etc. But why not Pakistan? So I think it's circumstantial. In some cases, yes, the Home Office can be helpful. In some cases, the government ties their hands behind their back.
Right, okay. And you did a story about reverse smuggling.
Yes.
This sounds very
This is
bizarre,
sort of brand new. And this is completely related to what we're just talking about. So mainly Hindi-speaking people, this is India and Pakistan, who are coming here primarily on student visas again. There are smugglers putting out advertisements out there. If you've overstayed your student visa, contact us and we'll take you to France or Spain. Now, I couldn't understand, if you're in the UK, why do you want to be smuggled from the UK to France or Spain when you're overstaying your student visa? I couldn't get my head around that. So I posed as a migrant to these people and I sort of asked the benefits. What can I get? I've overstayed my visa. What happens? They informed me a lot of people now are going to Spain. The reason they're going to Spain, the socialist government there announced an amnesty for over 1 million migrants, and it appears now, this is going to be, when it comes out, the very first documented route of the United Kingdom being used as a country, as a stepping stone to another country, Spain. We're an island country. No one's ever used us to get forward as a sort of designated route. In previous years, it might be an individual wants to evade the law and smuggles himself over.
Right, so they're easily getting student visas for Britain.
Yes.
So they can come here.
Yes.
And then
from here, they'll go in a lorry at Dover. They'll be smuggled to France. They'll be picked up by taxis, minibuses, whatever it may be, driven from France to Spain. Then there's different cells in Spain who, from this new Spanish law, they say you have to be there before December 2025 to claim this. There's cells there that will sort of forged documents or references. You've been here as an undocumented migrant since whatever date. And then you can get a European Union citizenship via Spain. And of course, when you got that, Spain's not the richest country, but you can go to Germany, you can go to Sweden, you can go to France. You can claim their benefits legally as a European Union citizen. That's the new route.
Do you have a sense of the numbers?
It's very small at the moment. This is brand new, we're talking.
Okay, so this actually, in some way, answers why they're coming to Britain in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, who would guess? You put massive pull factors and they come.
But it's also the case that they're coming to Britain because... But just ignoring the people who go on to Spain,
yes,
the ones who are coming to Britain, it's because it's not easy for them to get that European documentation legally,
exactly.
And they're not getting the welcome that they're getting here. And that's evidence because if they go, they actually want to get the European passport from Spain. It's not because Britain, they actually sort of love British culture and they're real Anglophiles and, love our history and our art and our music. It's nothing to do with that. It's because it's the most, attractive in a material sense.
Well, it's a new smuggling route. There's always these new routes that pop up here, there and everywhere. I mean, an old historic one was a Vietnamese route to the UK using university placements in Malta, which is quite interesting. You would go there from Vietnam to Malta because it was quite easy to get a student visa to Malta as a Vietnamese person. They would sort of have a transfer exchange scheme with universities in the UK. So you go from Malta to the UK as a Vietnamese person and either claim asylum here or disappear into the shadow economy.
Huh. You also had a story about EU settlement?
Yes. So this is the country of East Timor in particular we're talking about, or Timor-Leste is more known as now. This is a country
that's not in the EU.
No, it's the other side of the world. It's close to Australia. It borders Indonesia, quite close to Papua New Guinea.
Not far from Narura.
Yeah, exactly.
I should pronounce it, sorry.
Nauru, I believe. Yes. But a European Union scheme is being abused there. Now, to understand the context of this has gone on over many years. That country, East Timor, was historically part of the Portuguese Empire. It was a Portuguese colony for hundreds of years. Portugal had turmoil in 1975. They had nearly a bit of a civil war. The government was overthrown. All of their colonies declared independence, Angola, Mozambique, etc. But East Timor was in a different situation. They were invaded and occupied by Indonesia for many years. They gained their independence in 2002 from Indonesia, and because of the law in Portugal, all of those people before it was occupied by Indonesia were Portuguese citizens. So the law in Portugal makes it, as a Timorese person, you can obtain a Portuguese EU passport if you were born before 1975, or if you have parents, grandparents who were in the country at that time, which obviously a lot of people will have because it is a poor country, people don't really move out of it. So they were all obtaining Portuguese passports. Flick to the 1990s, Britain's in the European Union, Portugal's in the European Union. A Northern Ireland's meat processing plant was really struggling for a shortage of workers. So what they'd done is they had job advertisements in Portugal, come work in our meat processing plants. The people of Timor, the East Timorese on Portuguese passports saw this, and the Portuguese economy is not as good as ours. They went, yeah, we'll go to Northern Ireland, we'll set up shop there. They lived with us. They couldn't believe all of the sort of social benefits they're entitled to in Britain. So if you look at the IOM report from the United Nations from 2019 on East Timor or Timor-Leste, it details this migration route. It found that a lot of people from Timor, instead of taking up these meat processing plants, etc., they were claiming social benefits like for children or out of work unemployment that they weren't necessarily getting in Portugal that they didn't know about. This was echoes back to East Timor. And what they found is actually a lot of Timorese people were taking children that were not biologically their own children to Northern Ireland to claim child benefits while we were in the European Union. We vote to leave the European Union. This route closes because EU citizens can no longer freely work and travel to the United Kingdom, as we can't to Portugal through free movement of people. But because it's so incentivised the United Kingdom back in East Timor, what started happening recently, and this hasn't been documented yet, people from East Timor have started to sell themselves as spouses, parents, etc., back to people in East Timor so that they could fulfill European Union family settled claimants, or it's a way of getting in as a family member into Northern Ireland, despite the fact they're Portuguese passport holders, but not necessarily Portuguese people themselves. This sort of Brexit legacy has opened our borders to a country on the other side of the world, and people are using...
Brexit legacy, why?
Because the European, or the EU SSS, EU Family Settlement Scheme, or whatever it may be called, that is a negotiation from our government to the European Union. This is something we've come up with. So the point of it is, if you're a European Union member and you've been living here and working here before Brexit, you can bring your wife, your kids from France, Germany, wherever, any European Union country. But critically, you can bring them if they're not European Union citizens. Mm-hmm. So if your wife was Nigerian, American, Australian, you could bring them over as well because you're European. Right. So that route per se has been advertised back in East Timor. People are fraudulently getting marriage certificates in East Timor that don't exist. Things like saying that's my child, and they'll have photos together and stage it. And the interesting...
that's a whole other level of it. Evil.
It's a whole...
child smuggling.
Exactly. There's historic precedents with this. This isn't just our country. There's child exploitation that's known in that country. But just focusing on Britain for the meantime, since I'm not a specialist in the child exploitation in their country, this isn't a necessary thing. This is something that's negotiated on the table. This is a sort of a legal means of smuggling. This isn't a illegal get on a boat. This is a sort of way of frauding or forging.
This is another one of the legal ways in.
Yes. Sorry, what I was going to mention just came to me, is looking at the Home Office statistics for this, how many people are doing this from East Timor. So if you look at every single visa that's been put in from East Timor, 83% of them for people coming from East Timor to the United Kingdom, so it's work, holiday, travel, etc., 83% are European Union family settlement schemes. No other country in the world has a relationship with us where a vast majority of their people are family reunifiers. I mean, we don't have that with Australia, we don't have that with Canada, with Ireland, countries that we have a shared sort of ancestral legacy or shared culture or shared history.
But we do have it with the dependable scheme, right? So when someone comes in, we just had this with a Gazan, I believe it was, who came, I think, on a student visa, and if it wasn't a student visa, it was some sort of resettlement thing, and insisted that 18 of her family, because they were close family, needed to come with her, which of course, and it was allowed, and that of course means that each of those 18, it would be legitimate for them to each have their own 18, and so it just kind of spirals out of control, and that's basically what's happened. Is whether it's
exactly
work visas or student visas, the dependables is when everyone comes in, and it's something like 17% of people coming into Britain on these visas are actually working. The rest is students and dependables. And that's the legal stuff, of course, not including the illegal stuff. So the idea that, we need them for the NHS or for our infrastructure. Well, firstly, we need more houses, we need more water, we need more energy just to deal with them. We need to build the infrastructure. We're not doing that at the appropriate rate that we wanted to do that, even if we wanted them in our country, and we don't, or I don't. And the idea that they're going to themselves work in the NHS and we need them for the NHS and we need them in all these specific jobs. It's like, well, each of them brings in enough people that they're not even accounting for what they would be able to contribute, or like take them in their whole as a group coming in. I'm not sure that they're a net contributor really in any way. I'm talking more about the legal side. It's just
and sometimes
the mess that we're in.
Sometimes with these student visas, etc., when they come from these universities in India or Nigeria, and if you talk about social or healthcare workers, sometimes the training they receive in these countries isn't the same level as, say, the NHS, or sometimes it's completely fraudulent. You can purchase certificates saying, I attended X university in X country and I'm qualified in nursing or whatever else it may be. And obviously the effects of that for young people, in particular, people maybe my age who want to go to university, do a nursing degree or etc., they're being pushed out by people who sort of jump the queue, which the government are bringing in, but they're not trained at the adequate level that the NHS or whatever organisation it may be is promoting.
Is there anything I missed, you think, on this? We've covered a lot of ground.
We've covered a lot. I don't believe so. But if you've got any questions about, say, the human impacts, I've got interesting stories. So, for example, I went to Wethersfield's Asylum camp. If you heard of that, it's the largest...
I have in Essex near Braintree.
Yes, it is the largest camp housing asylum seekers in the UK. I went to one of the parish council meetings with Peter Harris. He's now the head of Reform UK for Essex County Council and the mayoral candidate. He asked me what's going on. So we went to one of these parish meetings just to hear the impacts of the people who live there, what's going on. I have to say I was totally astounded, shocked at what I heard. When I was there was people saying about the migrants from the base coming in. There was one couple in their family, they had two men in their back garden who had anal sex with condoms and feces spread all over the floor. The reason being, of course, if you are gay on the camp, there's a large Islam sort of Muslim presence that's frowned upon in their cultures. They reported it to the police. The police didn't show up. There's people banging on people's doors saying, take us to London, we want to go to London. And bear in mind, a lot of these people are in their 60s, 70s, 80s. It's a lot of like picturesque retirement villages. People there, they told us, we used to live with our doors unlocked. We've never had anything like this. There'd be people walking in the dead of night down these country roads. If you've ever driven down them, they weave and turn. There's an accident waiting to happen at some point. People have said they don't respect boundaries. So migrants have crossed over farmers' fields, fences, things like that. Just sort of social unorder. And a lot of the stuff they were taking to Essex police, it was just being thrown out. The police were not helpful at all. One person, it was a man, he says his wife opened the door to someone. The migrant pushed the door open. This is all allegedly, of course. He came down, shouted at them to leave. The migrant left. They called the police. Police turned up. Is there any criminal damage to the door? No. Was anyone hurt or assaulted? No. Oh, well, there's nothing we can do. Just lock your doors and shut your curtains and basically get on with it.
So that's the new England now.
Exactly. And this is coming to all these bases. There's more opening up around the country. I think it's something you're going to hear a lot more of, condensing all these people into one place where they just run riot.
So the base story is that they were being housed in hotels for a long time for the practical reason that the hotels actually had beds. And that, as everyone knows, became very politically unpopular because firstly, these hotels were in the middle of towns and it was causing problems, but then we were like, we're paying them how much?
Yeah.
So I haven't quite worked out what the Home Office were thinking when they thought, well, let's put them in barracks. Because I think part of it was the idea that they're a little bit further away from towns, except they're not. We had protests outside in Piddington, which is another one of these barracks, which is in Oxfordshire, the Shire, and there's something like 1,200 asylum seekers being put in this, all men, of course, in this tiny little town of population like 300 or something. So they're like vastly outnumbered in this place, and it's all men, and they are free to roam, as we discussed outside. But sorry, I digress a little bit. The idea to move them to the barracks was that it would somehow be cheaper and somehow be more practical, except that the barracks don't, or the sites, might be more accurate to call them military sites, don't necessarily have bedding and housing and places to keep them. So we've got to spend the money to build up these properties, these bases, these sites.
Yes, a lot of them are aging.
So they're aging, and so it's only going to cost more. Potentially, it costs a lot more in the end. So it seems like a total bait and switch of a problem.
And the thing is, if we talk about Wethersfields in particular, okay, it's not in the town centre, but there's a bus company, Foster Hartley. It takes the migrants to Colchester, Braintree and Chelmsford on buses every single day, multiple times a day. So despite them being housed away from everyone, they still freely get dropped off in town centres, which is an issue. Another issue is obviously doctors' appointments, GPs and that. If they need specialist treatment, a lot of that is not on the base. The vans that you pay for, there was a whole van taking a single person to a hospital for whatever reason that may be. That's taxpayer money. So I don't think it saves any money putting them in camps as opposed to hotels. But that's an issue for the government.
We'll see. And there's not many of these, right? So there's Piddington, Wethersfields.
Yes.
I think there's one down in Kent.
Napier Barracks. Yes.
Napier. Is that Crowborough? There's Crowborough
as well, yes.
Which is the Kent one.
Yes.
And then I think there's one in Scotland near Inverness.
Yes, Inverness, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But so there's only a handful, but presumably that's going to change, and or who knows which way it'll swing. Maybe it'll become politically unpopular and it'll swing back, right? So do you have a sense of the numbers at Wethersfield? Because is that the first one?
I believe it was. I think from memory, the capacity is 1,245, but it has a legal limit of 1,800. They're building extra capacity. So they can go to 1,800.
Yeah. Astonishing. Well, Mitchell, it's been a great pleasure speaking with you.
Pleasure.
I've covered a lot of ground. And it's horrifying. It's absolutely horrifying. And
very serious.
We're losing our country. These people are not being deported. The smugglers are not being punished. They should be eliminated. And I mean, they should be killed. This got to be stopped because people are dying along the way. And I still think that we need a floating wall through the channel, a mined floating wall, because that way, if they decide to come across it, then it's them who are making that decision, not our Navy shooting them down. But who knows what's around the corner. Thankfully, we have great investigative journalists like yourself actually doing the hard work and trying to suss out what's going on and illuminating the people of our country at this horror. So, Mitchell Durdin, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Before I invite you over to the Substack to take some of our Substackers' brilliant questions, where can people find you?
I write in the Telegraph. Sometimes I put bits on Twitter. It's just my name, Mitchell Durdin. I'm a nobody. You probably can't find me. I don't have a big following.
A very good journalist and a very impressive one. Thank you so much, Mitchell.
Thank you. It's a real pleasure.
Cheers.
Cheers. It's very hard to integrate people when they've come illegally. They've broken sort of our basic British values about honesty, decency, and integrity.
And Woodruff Grain also asks, are parts of the Home Office actively enabling illegal immigration?
They just hid the figures rather than addressing the issue.
Michael Hopper asks, why doesn't Britain destroy the small boats used for channel crossings instead of returning them to France? Thanks for watching the Winston Marshall Show with Mitchell Durdin. Head over to winstonmarshall.co.uk, our Substack, or our YouTube members section if you want to watch the extended conversation between me and Mitchell, where he takes some of our Substackers' brilliant questions, and you'll also enjoy ad-free viewing and listening. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, and until next time, be well.